Hello there, and welcome to episode 12 of Podshots. This is the second part of a two-part series on what the sexes want to know about each other. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk about what men want to know about women. We're joined again by Jen Lee, the host of the Jen Unfiltered podcast, and her friend Tanja, an actress who's based in Germany. Lots of interesting topics covered on this episode if you're a guy interested in the opposite sex. We hope you enjoy it, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the next one.
Jen, do you want to introduce us to your friends and to the audience?
Well, I met her at a series called Body Love Series, which is hosted by a choreographer / dancer. She's amazing, Kayla Brenda, and we just bonded over that in that series. And then now we became pretty good friends over Instagram. So
awesome. Well, happy to have you here for this awesome episode. What are we going to do, Clement? We're talking about things men would like to ask women.
Yes, we did an episode before with Jen about what women want to know about men. And we wanted to reverse it, so why not bring in more firepower?
Exactly.
You know, you were asking two men before, but now we're asking two women. That's how it works. So yeah, we're going to learn hopefully a lot of things about how women think, and I'm actually excited and a little nervous because I feel like I already know a lot about that, but I know I'm wrong as well.
We'll see.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat, Clement, in some ways, so this should be interesting for sure. And then, Clements, what is our beverage choice this week? I know the girls are drinking water.
Well, yeah, I mean, like we do have an issue sometimes synchronizing, but we did a good job of finding the right type of wine, so we're drinking.
The
Malbec.
label looks very similar too.
It's black. It's a similar color. Other than that,
I meant like the fonts and the lettering, like it all kind of looks the same. They're both Malbec.
This one's Trivento from Argentina, which is it's a decent wine actually. It's not that bad, but I wouldn't rate it like as high as some of the others that I've tried. But Malbec overall, I like a lot. What about yours?
Yeah, Malbecs are great. Actually, where in Argentina is yours?
This is from the Trivento Private Reserve, grown in the Andes foothills.
Mine's from Mendoza, Argentina. They grow.
This is Mendoza too. Sorry. I guess that's in Mendoza.
Yeah, great wine comes out of Mendoza. This is Bodega Navarro Correas Collection Privada. I'm butchering all of that right now.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. We're gonna see the progression over the next year of your Spanish.
We are. It's not going to be by much, but it'll be something.
Guys, I know you're not drinking wine, but we should kick it off. So we usually just take some shots throughout the show. Tanja, I'm not sure if you've heard, but that's what we're gonna do. Oh no!
I told her about it.
Oh yeah, good. Okay, so cheers everybody. Thanks for coming on the show. Looking forward to it.
Cheers.
Ooh.
Wow, what a taste.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's got a kicker for sure.
Woo!
Believe it or not, I don't know why, but that's a lot harder for me to do a shot of wine than it is for me to do a shot of spirits.
Really?
I don't know what it is. It's just a fruity flavor that doesn't leave your mouth for a while. So,
the one that had the fruity flavor that didn't leave my mouth was the gin. So I don't think there's a comparison there.
You have trouble with the gin. Okay, we should do more gin then.
You have trouble with gin.
Yeah. That is pretty impressive. But like, I'm so happy that you guys are here. I'm excited to learn more about how you guys think. We've got like a list of things that we want to talk about, but yeah,
I think this is a topic that will help a lot of people because we struggle, generally speaking, with understanding what the opposite sex wants, what they don't want. Do you know what I mean? And Jen and I recently recorded an episode with another lovely lady on another podcast, which I'll be publishing soon. But we talked a lot about this too. So super interesting topic. Brandon, do you have anything you want to ask first?
Yeah, I'm just gonna pick something cool off this list that we have on Slack right now. So what we'll do is we'll ask you both a question, and you both can each individually answer the question however you like, and hopefully we'll get some good knowledge out of this for all the men out there that are probably very, very curious to what you might have to say. You're representing all women in the world right now. No pressure. No pressure.
Sample size. Quite interesting.
Everyone. Okay. Let's start off with an easy one. So why does it take so long to put on makeup in the bathroom? Seriously.
I mean, it depends on the girl because I don't take long.
Me neither, though.
How long is that?
Me takes 10 minutes max.
10 minutes. That's pretty impressive, I would say. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. How about you?
For me, it's like 7 minutes. I only do mascara and concealer. That's like it then.
But I mean, like,
beat you, Jennifer.
I know, by 3 minutes.
Wow, we picked the most efficient women for this podcast to represent them all.
I totally believe so too. Yeah, that's not been my experience.
But I mean, like, makeup is all about boosting one's self-confidence. So it doesn't really, I mean, some girls are really insecure about their facial appearance. So like they put a lot of makeup in. So that's probably why a lot of girls take a long time to put on makeup, because they have that self-conscious mindset.
Yeah,
I mean, makeup itself. Sorry, go ahead, Tanya.
Thank you. I feel like it's like a hard thing to, say that about all of them, because I feel like some are just like makeup experts and they just have a lot of fun of painting their face. But yeah, I do think that for a lot of girls, it's about boosting their self-confidence. So I feel like it speaks a lot for their confidence if they don't wear as much makeup as others might do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, like, expresses their own style, because everyone has different styles. So it's one way to show who they are as a person, or,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a good opportunity to plug my sister's makeup. She's a makeup artist. So I totally agree with you. And I think there's just varying levels of kind of like how you want to look. And probably, well, I don't know, this is a controversial topic because I think men also have a big hand in kind of having put that in motion, the whole makeup thing. And yeah, I think, women don't necessarily need to wear makeup, but I think it does, like, I can see how it brings out a lot more confidence in some women when they do. Yeah. So fair enough.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Okay. I'll go next. Do nice guys really finish last? This is an important question for a lot of people.
Yes. Like, there's only yes
so
to
brutal.
say to this, because I mean, if I would step into a relationship and it would be with a bad guy, as you call it, then it will not last. And I usually don't step into relationships that I see already at the beginning not lasting, or like all my friends around me will be like, oh, this will be a 1 month thing maximum. And I will be like, no, I'm not putting effort into anything that wouldn't last probably. So yeah, I guess nice guys finish. Because I feel like a lot of women, when they step into relationships, they kind of already have to picture themselves married in like 10 years with them. It's like, and then they have to think, can I see this in the man? And when it's like a bad guy, then probably not.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
also,
I think,
like,
go ahead.
Go on. Oh, okay.
I was just going to say that, like, I feel like maybe the interpretation has been a bit different, which I understand. So nice guys can finish last, meaning they actually end up in the relationship longer from Tanya's perspective. That makes sense to me. So the way that we ask it and the way that it means for us, or for at least for me, nice guys finish last means nice guys are not as interesting and therefore don't get to be with the woman. That's how the phrase actually kind of like has been perceived, right?
It is, but there's some kind of reason for it though. I mean, is it just that, the quote unquote bad guy or the bad boy is more just exciting compared to
because I think it's same for guys as well. They prefer to find girls that are quite the chase. Like it's more of an adventurous kind of thing. Like you want to like, ooh, she's mysterious. But that's also for girls. They want to like get to know the guy a little bit slower, but also like kind of want to, a lot of girls nowadays want to play games, and I feel like bad guys tend to do a lot of those things. So it matches pretty well.
Mm-hmm. It's not a very healthy foundation, though. Like Tanya was saying, it's not something that you can build anything long term. And I can kind of understand that. I mean, actually, I think when you're younger, you're probably a lot less likely to be thinking about that, right? You're probably just interested in finding new people, having new experiences, learning more about yourself. So I would go as far to say that probably nice guys finish last is more appropriate the younger you get. And then the older you get, it's more like, okay, I'm not really that interested in that kind of thing anymore. I'm looking for something a little bit more long-term. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So don't worry about this. Anyone who's watching this who's like in high school right now, or you shouldn't really be drinking, but anyone who's watching this in high school or, is below a certain age, oh man, things get a lot more easy to understand as you get older, because it's just a big mess when you're younger. Yeah, I remember that.
It's an age thing, most likely. It just sucks because if you're a young guy, and that's something that a girl is attracted to, or that's the kind of guy a girl's spending a lot of time around, as a guy that's going to make you want to act more like that as well.
Yeah, so I agree.
Boom. What else we got?
Let's move on to the next question. Let's see. Why do women play hard to get?
I guess that's like the same thing as Jen already said. The way that we kind of tend to prefer bad boys at first, maybe, we kind of get the feeling that men prefer like a little more mysterious girls, or like hard to get girls in the beginning as well. So we kind of don't want to give it all away already at the beginning. And I feel like most of the girls, at least it's like for me, we have a lot of standards, and kind of when we're setting them in the beginning, we're like sort of testing you if you're like okay with them or if that's too much. So it's kind of like a test zone. Do you meet our standards or do you not?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And also I think that a lot of girls play hard to get because they kind of want the guys to go after them. Like we want that kind of attention. So that could be one of the reasons.
The funny thing is that I feel like men want women to be hard to get, but they don't at the same time. So they don't realize they wanted that until it's too late. If a girl was too easy, quote unquote easy, right? Because it's difficult to say what that really means. But like if they just kind of like were willing and went to the next step and then it was over before you knew it. And I feel like men, when they get there, they're kind of like, you know what? Yeah, I got that. I conquered that lady, and now I kind of like feel like I want the chase again. Some men, not all men are like that, but it can backfire. If you're too.
A lot of men like to chase, though.
Yeah,
I think they're totally fine with it. they see a girl like pulling away or being distant or just not giving them attention. I know a lot of guys that definitely want to go for that girl because it's like a reward to them if they can accomplish that.
I think the smartest women are able to have a balance between keeping their partner, their man, like kind of happy in that respect, but also wanting more. And I think that's something that a lot of people are not able to achieve because it's too difficult for them to say no to their partner. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like that's a missing element of a lot of relationships, is that mystery, kind of like that kind of playfulness.
Yep.
Yeah. Mystery is important. I mean, you don't want to lose interest either.
Exactly.
And at the same time, you don't want to give everything away. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword there. Like, you don't want to be distant necessarily, but if you just let someone know everything about you, I mean, you're completely open to somebody right away or immediately, that takes away some of that luster, some of that, passion, desire, interest, even over time. So I can see where that might be useful.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one. Do women want a gentleman, or is chivalry dead?
Chivalry is never dead.
Never.
Right. Okay.
Never. We want a man who can treat women right. Not just like their woman, but also the rest of women in this world. Like, we respect those guys. If you just respect us, then that's cool. But if you don't respect other girls out there, then
Yep. It's so funny because I was actually asked exactly the same question, I think like a few months ago, and I was answering literally the same as Jen did. You have to respect me, but you kind of have to respect all women as well, or it's like not working.
Yeah.
So what do you feel when you're dating someone and they're really nice to you, but then when you watch them interact with other people, they're kind of not as nice, they're a bit weird? Like, do you feel like they're lying to you maybe, or they're not genuine, or?
I would say they're not really genuine and they would just try to impress you. Like, I would say those kind of behaviors are very short term because most of your truest behaviors or personality will come into play anyways after a long term. So I think that they usually fake it, and then once you see them in real life or like interacting with other women, then it truly shows who they are.
Yeah. So it pays to be a nice person, basically, kind. Thoughtful.
It always does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good to know. It's hopeful for a lot of people.
Chivalry is never dead. Say that again.
I definitely don't think chivalry is dead. But, it's something that as men we strive for. If we're really, a quality guy with good character, you want to be a gentleman, and not just for one person, but, towards all women. The standard that, it's high to reach in some ways, but I mean, a lot of men don't chase that as much nowadays as they used to, I guess. So maybe that's why you don't see it as much anymore. And it might also be because when you're young, hanging out with younger men, they're not necessarily chasing that standard either. Maybe you'll see it in men as you get older.
Yeah.
Possibly. Also, I feel like, and this is a controversial thing to say too, I feel like a certain type of feminism is attacking chivalry. What do you think about that, girls? Like, do you think that some feminists out there are against men being, oh, let me open the door for you. Oh, let me be really super nice to you. And no, treat me like anyone else kind of thing.
Definitely. Like, being a feminist myself, I find it really, triggering if like some other feminists, like so-called feminists, be like, oh my God, no, that is like not fair at all. And it's like anti-woman and we can do it ourselves and we're independent and stuff. And mostly I feel like people who come from that perspective, they're, I feel like, not really feminists, but they're more trying to man bash in that way. Like, I feel like they have a lot of anger towards men generally, kind of. And because like feminism is about equality, but I mean, every woman loves to be respected. And if it's like holding the door, or I don't know, let her walk the stair first, then that's it. That's showing respect and not like being impolite, I feel like.
Right. Yeah.
I agree with that. It's kind of sad though. Like, a lot of guys don't open the door for me, but whenever a guy does open the door for me, I'm like, oh, you just did that.
I opened the door for you today into this chat room. I mean, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's a big thing. It can be a big thing, can't it? It's just a gesture, but like, it goes a long way.
Well, I open the door for everybody.
Well, that shows your truest character. Yeah.
But you work as a doorman during the day. That's your job.
Hey, sometimes the door swings open. Sometimes it swings closed. Some people get hit. Some people don't. Hey, so I try to keep the door open as much as possible. But yeah, it's important. But I mean, other than just for women, like, last thing I want to do is have someone walking behind me and the door slam in their face. Like, that says a lot about my character besides just being a gentleman. So yeah, I'm going to hold the door, whoever it is.
Yeah. And also, I think not even just chivalry, but this is on a related subject, but like, I feel like people nowadays, when like walking down the street and making eye contact with people and smiling or nodding or kind of just at least acknowledging people is something that's dying out. I don't know what, but here, and especially with COVID as well, it's affecting how we interact with each other. So now, as opposed to it being a physical distancing thing, there's somehow people are letting it get into their mind that it's also almost like a social, so it's like a physical distancing thing, but a social distancing thing too. And we call it social distancing here in the UK. So that's like a wide spectrum of interaction that we need to distance ourselves from, right? But it should be really physical distancing because that's how it transmits. Yeah. And I feel like nowadays when I walk down the street and I used to smile at people and kind of nod and things, a lot of people don't actually look at you now when they're walking down the street for fear of whatever it is that we're hiding from.
Exactly. And this kind of brings back to, I posted this on Instagram of how Black Lives Matter, that there's a thing going on right now that's terrible. And I feel like a lot of Black people, like what you said, Clement, like they don't really say hi or they don't really, smile at strangers. And I feel like Black people deserve a lot of respect, or like they want to feel more appreciated that they are living to get today, and they want to be treated like other human beings or other race.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Trevor Noah is joking about it, saying white people are rushing to find like that second Black friend, which I find really funny. It's one of those things that you have to kind of like, you have to be able to laugh about it too. And the funny thing is, like, on this whole topic of Black Lives Matter, I remember I was watching like something from the 70s. It was a talk show, and there was a Black man who was on stage with the presenter, and they asked the audience, they were obviously talking about like racial matters. And a woman was asked, the audience was asked, what is it that you're worried about when it comes to actually giving equality to black people? And a woman stood up and said, we're worried about violence, because she, in her opinion, Black people are more violent. And the guy said something along the lines of, I think really what's happening here is you're worried that we're going to do the things that you did to us in the past as a payment, as a almost like a reconciliation somehow of like the trauma that we've suffered in the past. But it's not true. We're not necessarily looking to make you pay for what you did. We just want to be treated equally. And I think that's actually something a lot of people don't get, is that I can see how that happens under the surface. A lot of white people are worried, perhaps, at least the power structures. I know this is getting deep, but a lot of people are pretty worried about repercussions from past wrongings. I don't actually think that's necessarily true.
The thing that
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Just really quickly, I was just going to say it's just polarizing. That's a huge issue right now. Like, you got a lot of people in one group saying you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to say that, and then you have a bunch of people in another group that are upset because they don't know why they're being blamed for something they've never done. And you just constantly are building up these walls and dividing people between left and right in a lot of ways. What we really should be doing is tearing down walls and building bridges, and a lot of that is by laughing and injecting some humor and comedy into things, and not taking things like over the top. And at least in America, I don't know what it's like everywhere else, reacting to like everything that happened with George Floyd, but it's very polarizing. It's one thing to go out and protest. It's another to throw a brick through someone's window because you're mad and say that it's your entire race's fault. I mean, that's not making a white person feel good. And then a black person's not going to feel any better because that white person is going to be in denial about it. And then you have this back and forth, and it doesn't solve anything. It's just it's a huge polarized issue right now that's unfortunately going to take time to heal until people are ready to sit down and stop finger pointing and actually, have a conversation about what they should and should not do.
Do you think it's getting sorry, Jen. Do you think it's getting better? I mean, do you think people are starting to talk more, or is it still incredibly violent over there? I don't know.
I think it depends where.
Yeah, it depends where.
Then you go. We keep cutting you off.
Yeah.
I was going to say this relates to a topic that can be triggering to women, because we do deal with sexual assaults and guys who catcall us and just being harassed, like women being harassed. And I feel like a lot of people don't take that into consideration. They think it's part of humor, or they just think like, oh, it's just nothing. It's just the small things. But really, women go through that a lot. And I don't think a lot of people pay attention to that or respect that. And especially personally, I'm a sexual assault survivor, I would say. And a lot of people would say what were you wearing that day? Who did that? You wore that, so probably that's why they did it. But yeah, I just think that a lot of people don't pay attention to the woman rights and the fact that we go through a lot of sexual assaults and harassment from men usually.
Yeah.
So,
on that subject, I think it's easy for men specifically, actually, in the heat of the moment, to lose their perspective on where to draw the line between getting what they want, which can be a lot of the time sexual, and also being empathetic to the person that they're talking to, which is the woman. I think there's a lot of things going on in that interaction, especially between the differences in power. So men are obviously more physically powerful in general, and that can twist things so that women feel a little bit more submissive. Obviously, I think that's just the way it goes. And yeah, the point I'm trying to make is, I feel like in my experience, I've had to try really hard to be more conscious of the other person's needs while I'm pursuing my own, because the whole interaction can get skewed just because I'm more dominant than they are. And yeah, I mean, it can be difficult for people to have that empathy. I think empathy is a really important thing,
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. Empathy.
What else we got?
Let's move on. Is it my turn to ask a question?
It is, I think.
Yeah, it is.
On a lighter note, do women expect men to pay the bill?
Well, I guess it's a romantic gesture, but I personally wouldn't expect it directly at the first dates or anything, especially because I'm that kind of person who doesn't want to owe anyone anything. So I usually wouldn't even let him pay the bill, at least not at the first dates, without repaying him back. Like if it's a thing where I'm like, okay, then the next date I'll pay the bill, then it's okay. But usually I do not really feel comfortable with it either. So yeah.
Why do you not feel comfortable with it? Just because I'm curious to know.
Just because I would feel really bad because sometimes I just get the feeling that they do it only because they feel pressure of doing it, because they know that a lot of women expect that of them, and I don't want it to be like that, and I also don't want to owe anyone anything, because I mean mostly we just met and I don't even know that person, so why spend money on me already? So it's like a complicated thing.
Do you think it would get to the point where, like, if someone kept insisting they want to pay for your bill, do you think you would get annoyed with them?
Well, if he would keep insisting, but I do feel that he's a genuine person, then I would just be like, yeah, okay, then next time I'll pay. Then it would just be like, we're quit.
Yeah. Okay, or usually in that case, I would want to pay half and half. If he really wants to pay the bill, then yeah, let's just do half and half. And then, yeah, like you said, Tanja, I feel bad whenever a guy wants to pay, like he just keep asking, like, I'll pay. I'm like, well, I also have money too. Like I ate this food. You didn't eat my food. I'm going to pay for my own food and you can pay for your own food. That's how I usually see it.
Yeah, I think the offer is what matters, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some men just like the macho feeling of it too, because, you know, you're competing with other men, you know, you want to impress a girl sometimes. So I think in the back of our minds as guys, we just kind of sometimes expect to do it. We don't even think about it. I know there's plenty of times where I've sat down with a girl for whatever, and I'll just pick up the bill out of habit. And I think a lot of guys are just like that. But I mean, if I'm with somebody and, you know, we're having some food and I'm happy to split the bill. It's not like it doesn't bother me. Like it's impressive to me. Like if a girl wants to split the bill, it shows that she's, you know, independent, willing to, you know, take care of her own stuff and pay for her own.
It's impressive to me if a man doesn't want to pay the bill. That's impressive to me. That's which world did you grow up in? That kind of thing. Yeah.
I actually have a story where I went on a date with this guy to a movie theater, and I don't know if he purposely did this, but he was like looking around in his pockets like, oh shoot, I don't have my wallet. I'm like,
oh God, no.
You don't have your wallet? And he's like, yeah, can you pay this time? Or no, actually he did have his wallet. No, he did have his wallet. And then he had two credit cards. He used his first credit card, declined. And I was like, okay, maybe the second credit card, declined. Okay. And he's like, can you pay this time? I'm like, okay, I'll pay. So,
you know, I'm going to tell you that's really embarrassing. I'm going to tell you a story that's the same as that. I was the guy, but it was genuine. I genuinely forgot my card, and I was in Manila at the time, and I went out on I think it was a date. Yeah, we were having coffee basically. So I met with this girl, we had coffee. And then I realized I'd forgotten my card in the office. So I told her, I'm so sorry, I forgot my card. I'm going to go and get it. And she said, okay. So I went and I ran. And by the way, the office is like 10 minutes away and it's really hot. So I ran back to the office to get the card. And for some reason, I wouldn't be saying this if I wasn't genuinely like, you know, like capable of doing it. Right. I went to the bank to use the card and it didn't work. And this is me like in the bank sweating because it's hot outside after having run to the office, can't use my card in the bank. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I went back to the date and I basically just had to say, I'm sorry, can you get this one? And then because it wasn't a great date, anyway. We didn't see each other afterwards either. And I felt so bad that I hadn't been able to repay that debt. And it was just the funniest thing ever as well, because she probably thinks this guy used me, got like a free coffee and things, and just fucked off.
I mean, at least you tried to go to the bank, but my date didn't do anything. He's like, oh, can you just pay? I'm like, okay.
Right.
It's just embarrassing in general when your card doesn't work. So many times I've gone to the store, like in Colombia, and I've had issues with the bank, and I pull out one card, swipe it, nothing, doesn't work. Pull up the next card, swipe it, doesn't work. Pull up the next one. Eventually, by the fifth card, something works, and the teller's just like, what the hell's going on?
Wow. Yeah.
Having a hard time.
That guy's so shady.
I know. All these cards that don't work.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh my God.
Okay, my turn. What's the most romantic thing a guy's ever done for you, or that you'd want a guy to do for you?
Like while in a relationship, or just like going on?
Just in general, I guess, because people are listening to this and they're like, well, what can I do? I think that's something that we could try to help them out with.
Within or outside a relationship, either one.
Yeah.
The most like turned on thing that I could think of that a guy can do is like, let's say we had a casual conversation before the date, and let's say we talked about, oh, I've always wanted to go to this beach, but I didn't have a chance to because blah, blah, blah. And if the guy remembers that, and then he actually drives there, maybe as a surprise, or just tells her like, we're going to go to this beach because you said this before, and I really want you to experience this with me. Like, that's so romantic because he remembered, he actually considered making the effort of going to a beach that he may have gone multiple times, or like, the memory that a guy has.
Yeah, same for me. I feel like when a guy remembers and he listens and he shows it that he actually listened to you, that's a really romantic gesture. But also, like, I feel like it's really cliche, but lending jackets is also really cute. I feel like, although it's a cliche, it always works, I feel like.
Yeah. Also, like on dates, I don't like fancy restaurants. I honestly like to go see a scenery of the city or the beach and just have a good conversation. I think that's the most ideal date, is when you have a good conversation with your date and get to know that person a lot better, rather than just spending a lot of money on certain things like a fancy restaurant or a gift that you want to give on the first date. Like, conversation.
So let me ask you this. On average, how many, like, have there been more men that have tried to impress you and take you out? Or have there been more men that have gone for the more kind of intimate approach?
In my experience, a lot of guys usually ask me what I would want to do on the first date. So I would always go for that route of going to a beach or to a scenery.
Right.
There's this one guy, though, that he thought that going to a fancy restaurant would get me to get in his pants, but that didn't work. So
you have a good meal at least?
Sorry.
I actually didn't like the restaurant either, so
double whammy.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing Chick-fil-A in a view, to be honest. So
Chick-fil-A, yes. Yep.
It's the best IHOP in town. What about you, Tanya? Do you feel like there are more guys out there who want to try and impress you with maybe flashy things, or are they more interested in going out for an intimate date?
Well, I feel like that really depends on the personality, and I feel like everyone is kind of different in that way. But like, usually also guys, I feel like always be like, okay, I have 5 things, you choose. And it's usually containing like cinema, and a restaurant, park, like going for a walk or something. And yeah, something in that direction, like eating ice cream. And I would usually go, like, personally, I would always choose park and going for a walk over fancy restaurant, or especially cinema is an absolute no-go, I feel like, because you're just sitting next to each other watching a movie. You aren't really getting to know each other. So yeah.
This is really good advice for people listening.
Yeah, don't take us to cinemas or movie theaters on a first date. That never works out.
Would you rather a guy, just pick something for you to do, or would you rather him give you an option? Because I know a lot of times when a guy, like take food, for example, a guy says, hey, what do you want to eat? Girl almost always says, I don't know, whatever you want to eat. So a guy takes her somewhere where he wants to eat, and she decides that, well, she doesn't want anything on the menu. She's actually craving something else.
It depends on the girl. Personally, I like to be given options, but at the same time, I want him to ask me, where do you think you want to go other than those options that I've given you? Like, that will give me more opportunity to think of where I want to really go. It depends on the girl.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, where does the assertiveness slot into this? Because women don't like a guy who's indecisive either. So it's kind of a balance of, well, let's ask her something, but then at the end of the day, like, I need to know when to make the decision, because we can't both just be standing here going, Yeah. Right. What about you, Tanya? What do you think about that?
I feel like giving an option is always best, because I do not like being like forced into anything, or because in those situations, it's again the situation where I would have to say no, probably, if it's an option I can't agree with. And this is quite an uncomfortable position, especially at the beginning. So I feel like rather give options, so I don't get into uncomfortable positions, or he doesn't get into uncomfortable positions. And he could be like, oh, do you want Italian? Do you want Chinese? Do you want, I don't know, American food? And then I could just, pick. And I mean, he would be fine with all three of them because he made the options. Like, I think that would work best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I just had this thought of a guy who's like, okay, we're going to go here. And then you go there and he didn't realize that you have like food intolerances to that thing. Yeah, it could backfire.
That was the guy.
If you're too.
That was the guy.
Oh, yeah.
That was the guy who took me to the fancy restaurant. He's like, let's go to that fancy restaurant. And I was like, I hated it. Okay.
That's so unfortunate.
I know.
Oh, shit. Not good. Not good.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got?
Do a fancy restaurant on a first date, 'cause that might be a waste of money. You really don't know.
It could be too. Although people can be prepared to splash out if they really like the idea of someone. They're gonna. I mean, I'm speaking from experience here. It's. But then after talking to you guys, it's not necessarily the best idea to do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it depends on the girl. Once again.
And depends on how far you are in your relationship. Like at the beginning, no, but later on, definitely.
Right. So just keep it till later. If it goes well, then maybe that would be a good next step. Yeah.
Like if I'm dating someone, I definitely rely on his taste, food taste at least. So I would be like, okay, let's go there. But if it's on the first date, like, what I've experienced, I don't trust you. It
also kind of depends on the occasion too. Like, I don't think I'd take anyone somewhere super expensive or fancy on the first date. But I mean, if it's Valentine's Day or New Year's Eve or an anniversary, well, yeah, you got to do something pretty cool, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the thought that counts.
I feel like going to a very expensive restaurant for the first date as well is kind of backfiring for you already because, well, you're not going to be able to keep that up. So you're going to have to go backwards in some respects at some point. So you might as well start at the bottom, work your way up that way.
Yeah.
If you do find a woman who likes lavish restaurants, is that really the woman you want?
Well, you should just ask her if she likes lavish restaurants. And then
yeah.
I don't see why that's so hard.
My first question to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, my turn or your turn?
Your turn. Yeah. You go for it.
Okay. So what are some things about men that you'd consider a major turnoff and some things you consider a major turn on?
I can actually say this with total confidence because I've just experienced it, and it really pissed me off. When men don't show any social intelligence. Like, I don't expect them to read my mind, and I don't expect them to know anything if I say I'm fine, but I'm not. I do not expect that, and I do get that a lot of women do expect that. But social intelligence, only knowing how to articulate yourself, how to express yourself, and how it might end up with me. Like, when you're saying something, it might be hurtful for me, but maybe think about it before you hit send or before you say it. And yeah, literally social intelligence is, if you don't have that, it's a real turnoff. Yeah.
With that being said, for me, it's emotional intelligence. Because I personally think it's a turnoff as well if a guy tends to repress his feelings and just keep it all to himself, and rather just say everything that's in his head to me. Because I feel that whenever a guy expresses his true emotions toward me, it means that he trusts me. Because I know a lot of guys tend to hide their emotions because they think it's not a masculine way of showing it. So yeah, also emotional intelligence can come into play when they kind of figure out what the woman is feeling or what she's going through. Not just about themselves, but also having that empathy toward that woman.
Yeah. The thing is about those two aspects that you just mentioned, both of you, I feel like it comes with experience. So
yeah,
we don't know how to be emotionally intelligent until we've gone through enough situations where we can say, oh, I shouldn't be like that, or I need to be like this. And then same with social kind of awareness of, should I say this thing or should I not say this thing? It's kind of trial and error for everyone. And I've had some awful experiences. Oh, yeah, I don't even want to talk about them. They're so bad. But over time I started to realize, maybe I shouldn't do this, or, I need to take a different approach. And that's the unfortunate thing that befalls young men and women, is that they're really still just trying to learn how to play the game. And the only way to speed it up is to just do it more often, I think. So, oh, and by the way, yeah, you're right. I think men do have this idea that they need to be more, macho or whatever, and not show weakness. But if there's one thing I think from this whole question and answer that people could walk away from with, it's that men don't need to be so hard. They can be vulnerable, and it might actually end up working better for them in the long run. Yeah, definitely agree with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it takes, go ahead. Sorry.
Huh?
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Who was going to say?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something. What was I going to say? I was going to say that, I think it's an age thing again. Boys, when we grow up, there's a whole child rearing process where you're taught to be, tougher. As a boy, being a man, requires being tougher, not showing your emotions as much. And that can affect our emotional intelligence as we get older, especially when we're still young, late teens, early 20s. That stuff does get better over time with more experience, but that's hard to hold against a man, because I think almost every man goes through that culturally. Social intelligence, just time, I guess. I don't know if that's really beaten into us, but from the emotional side, from the emotional intelligence perspective, it's definitely something that's definitely beaten into us as a kid, at least in America. I don't know what it's like in the UK, but we're taught to.
For sure. Well, my father's Chinese, so
there you go.
He was very communist with me when I was. That's a joke. He was just he was very hard on me as I was growing up, and I think it's just like you say, a lot of it's just being a guy, just being taught to be strong. But Yeah, it's a patriarchal kind of approach, isn't it? It's like just be the man of the house, you know. Yeah, it's a good point.
Is that a turn off that we mentioned or a turn on?
Turn off.
Yeah, good idea. So what's the other one? Turn on.
On the flip side, what's a turn on that you find in guys, or something that a guy does that you consider a turn on?
Well, social intelligence and emotional intelligence.
Good point.
True. But other than those two things, does anything else turn you on? Or no?
Definitely honesty is important, and also loyalty, because I've dealt a lot of those issues in the past with my past relationships where also I don't like, this is another turn off, I would say. I don't like when a guy plays mind games with me, whether that be out in public and he be like, oh, damn, that girl is nice looking ass or something like that. And then he would go straight to me like, no, babe, you're perfect the way you are. That's gonna make me wonder what's going on. I don't like guys who do that because it just feels like, I don't know, like you're playing games with me.
Yeah, I feel like a big turn on is like when I'm able to connect on a deeper level, having deep talk conversation with a guy. Like if he's only trying to do small talk or anything, that's just not gonna work. Like we're not gonna connect over that. So yeah. Deep talk.
Also being honest with yourself. Yeah. Being open and also being honest with yourself. If you're faking the way you are as a person, like, oh, I've dated so many girls, so this and that, like I'm like that. But in reality, maybe you didn't have a lot of girls in the past. Like stay true to yourself. Like that's what makes us feel more attracted to you if you stay true to yourself.
So difficult for some guys to do that though. Because again, perceived weakness, it's like that thing is, do I really want to go that far out from my comfort zone and my, persona? There's a whole industry around manipulating women, right? It's called pickup artistry. I wouldn't say all of it's bad, but I would say that a lot of it is designed to manipulate women by making them think and feel certain ways. And, I talk about it because I don't agree with it. I think that genuinely speaking, if you want to have if you want to find someone, you want to have a good relationship with someone, or even if you want to get laid, because that's what it's about. Pickup artistry is about getting laid mostly. You should try to be as, like you said, as genuine and as empathetic as possible. And it would usually work out, I think. But yeah, unfortunately, we have to deal with that whole side of things where men resort to the more malicious side of manipulation to get what they want. And it can work. It can. That's why it still thrives. It can work. It's just that I don't think it's a good way to kind of go about getting what you want, because if you're seeing that kind of approach works, what are you going to do in your relationship when you finally have one? Are you going to manipulate your partner all the way through your relationship? Yeah.
Also, what she said, the deep conversations matter. It just shows that you're very intellectual and you have gone through a lot of experiences, or you're very curious. You're a very curious person and you want to learn more things or more facts. So that's very attractive in a guy if he is ambitious and curious in any subject that we talk about.
Yeah, I think if guys are listening to this, and you can maybe back me up with this, I'm not sure if it's true, but I think it is. I would say men and women both combined, like if they feel like they can trust you, if you slip up with something, there's so much more chance that you're going to be forgiven for that and let off and kind of accepted than actually not. So the worry is, I think as well, if men are going to want to be open and vulnerable with you, that the rejection is real, that they don't want to be rejected because they actually, and it will crush them. Right. And I think that if you can build a trust with your partner, that's not an issue anymore, because you would rather have that trust and honesty than having a perfect boyfriend who never makes any mistakes.
Yeah. Also, you got to admit that what's not meant to be is not meant to be. Like, you're going to eventually attract a partner that reflects who you are.
Yeah. And also, if you're not true to yourself, and if you're like faking someone in the beginning, things will come up later. And I feel like that's even worse than in the beginning. So stay true to yourself.
Yeah, you can't lie for too long, right? It's going to get you in the end.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, it's too much work.
Yeah.
Definitely don't be fake. That'll bite you later on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I mean, coming back, since this is all kind of being based around intelligence, if a guy is really being open and deep with you, he really likes you, because guys really don't do that kind of stuff. So that's a good sure tell sign that a guy really does like you. If he's sitting down and getting deep and intellectual and sharing stuff with you, yeah, he's probably serious. It's probably a good sign.
Yep.
Rejection as well, like you touched on it, Jen, is like, it's not a bad thing necessarily. It's actually a good thing if you think about it from a certain perspective. Like, you're getting the chance to move on to something that actually does work for you, as opposed to staying in something that doesn't. And it doesn't mean you failed. Like, if you look at the statistics, the likelihood of you finding someone in the first 3 or 4 attempts that's going to be your lifelong partner is really slim. There's so many people in the world. And yeah. I mean, it's easy to go into something thinking that if you get rejected, you're just not good enough. But there are so many different types of people with different needs and different interests. And that is a sensitive, like, delicate combination. And you can't get it right every time. So it doesn't mean you're wrong or you're not enough. It just means you maybe need to date more and meet more people. So yeah, being honest, I agree with you. Like, just be honest and say, look, we're not made for each other. It doesn't mean that you're shit. It just means that we're looking for different types of people. Do you know what I mean? Or
you need to figure out yourself. You may not know who you are yet.
Yeah, as well.
Yeah.
If you could change one thing about men, what would it be? And be honest here, because you might say something like, I wouldn't change a thing, but I don't know if that's true.
Show more of the soft side in yourself, because you're not always tough. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Tanya?
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna agree with Jen. Literally open up and not always be the tough guy, and also don't try to act different in front of your friends than you're acting in front of me, because then you're also faking it again. And as we already discussed, faking it isn't good at all. So yeah.
Yep.
Be open.
Yeah.
Cool. Good points. Since Clemens asked to, I'm going to ask a question. Okay, let's see. What's a good one? Okay. Why do women say that they're okay when they're really not?
Okay. First of all, girls who say that means that they just want you to reassure again. Like, they want you to actually ask, so really, what's the matter here? Or like, what's the problem here? Or like, be more specific with it. But in my case, I think when a guy asks me, are you okay? It's like just a vague or broad wording. I wouldn't really recommend that. I said this in my podcast where I said, when a guy asks, are you okay? Like, that's only 2 answers. Either you're okay or you're not okay. For me, I prefer a guy who asks, like, what's going on in your head? Or like, what are you thinking right now? Then eventually the girl will open up to what she's thinking. If you're just asking, are you okay? I mean, some girls like to play that mind game, like, no, I'm not okay. Or yes, I'm okay. So,
but that's what she's thinking. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we girls need a little bit of assurance to actually open up and be honest about not being okay, because we don't want to be your baggage. Like, we don't want to be feeling like we're taking up all of your time and you're being annoyed. So we actually need a bit of assurance to say, I'm not okay. Can we please talk about it? Yeah.
I think girls also need to fix that. Like, they tend to not be honest with themselves. So I recommend girls being really honest with themselves and be more open about how they feel. Because it's not just a guy's thing of just asking, are you okay? It's also the girl's issue of just saying, I'm okay. Yeah.
Guys can be a little oblivious too, and we get used to that stuff. So if you continuously tell us that you're okay when you're really not, like if it's serious, we're going to have a harder time, discerning between, how you actually feel and what you're telling us.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously a guy should be able to read into it and like look at your expressions and your gestures and tell if something's really bothering you and try and dig into it a little bit or figure out what would be the best course of action to reassure you. But I mean, we're guys. So, I mean, if you tell us that you're okay all the time, we're going to pop to the next thing in our mind. We're very simple in some ways. We're always going to overthink.
That kind of ties into emotional intelligence. If you know that we're not doing okay, then you should, even though we say we're okay, you should at least bring up a conversation that will make her open up. You can't just like move on like, okay, you're okay. Like that doesn't really show that you really care about her. You just want to say that just so that you can act like you care.
Yeah. Again, like I feel like we do not expect anyone to read our minds, but if it's something that you realize and we're being really obvious about it, like if we're crying and we're saying we're okay, then and you actually realize it, then ask. Like just ask again or bring up conversation, as Jen said.
Yep.
Though I can kind of see and remember also historically, like I have struggled to be that kind of a person in a relationship because I am so terrified of being made wrong for something, like if we had an argument, let's say, and then we need to discuss it to figure out what went wrong. I have historically, I'm not saying I'm like this now, but stayed away from those kinds of conversations or just tried to make things go faster so that we can move on because I didn't want to feel like I was wrong. And I think a lot of men don't like to feel like they fucked up or they made a mistake because that's how we're trained to not fail. So one of the hurdles I think for men is realizing again that it's okay. If you did something that wasn't okay, it's all right. You just have to find a way to talk about it and resolve it as opposed to ignoring it and pushing it to the side because it's just going to make things worse. In a relationship, I mean, that's a tricky thing. I've had a lot of trouble with that. And I know I can tell that many men have problems with opening up because they're worried about like, oh my God, did I do something really wrong? I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It also depends on the girl, especially if you're in an argument with someone in a relationship. For me, at least, I want space from that person for a while, and then I would open up later that day, maybe. I don't tend to argue about it the next day because I don't like to sleep angry. But also other girls might just want you to open up. So it really goes down to the girl of what kind of person she is in a relationship.
Yeah, Clement, I think we're going to have to do an entire episode on emotional intelligence because I think there's a whole can of worms we need to dig into for that.
That's a massive subject and very helpful too. I think in this day and age, we crave it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is it my turn or do you want to do it?
I got one more question. Because I think you went through some of my questions, Clement.
We've split them.
I won't hold it against you, but I mean, you're taking from my
you can have some of mine if you want. I can add more.
Like you have your pile, I have my pile, and you're kind of just like.
I just took one from you. Yeah.
Anyways, so why do girls go to the bathroom together? is mine.
For emotional support, because usually in that case, we tend to want to spill out everything that we want to say, and then the girl just wants to be listened and just want to be, it's okay. You're gonna be fine. Other girls I've seen like just want to take selfies. So like it really comes down to the type of girl groups. But in my case, I usually go with my friends in the bathroom because it's where no one else really hears about it, and we just talk amongst ourselves. Yeah.
Is it just like girl time? Is that like what it is? Just having girl talk? Because like it's like if you're just doing normal things, like if I'm at the mall with a couple guys and a couple girls and one girl says, hey, I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. The other girls, every single time they're like, oh, we'll go to the bathroom too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's emotional support. We probably have something to discuss about, especially when we're with guys. We probably have to evaluate things and discuss them and get each other's opinions. And also a lot of the times, when we're like highly emotional and something happened, then we just need to cry ourselves out. And other girls, I feel like, are more sensitive to that, and they realize that, and then they'll just be like, okay, I'm coming with you, because they realize, okay, something's wrong. She needs my support. And I often have already seen bathrooms filled with girls and they're all crying. So shit really goes down on the girls' bathroom.
Yeah, I find that... I find a lot of guys who find that weird, and that's why they ask those questions, because guys don't do that in the bathroom. They just like don't even look at each other. They just do their business and move on. And guys don't even talk too much in details with like based on emotions. They don't really talk that much with their friends, right? Am I right?
If a guy talks to a guy in the bathroom, they better be good friends, because that's not something that usually happens. It's different for us. We get scared if a guy talks to us in the bathroom. It's an alarm. So very different, very, very different between the two genders. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I definitely going to the bathroom solitary for a man. You don't want to go to the bathroom with other guys. There's something weird about that.
Yeah. Also, what I kind of feel like applies to a lot of girls when they go to the bathroom in public, it's already usually a sign that they're not about to do their business, but they have something to discuss or need emotional support, because I feel like many girls just do not want to use the toilet in public spaces. At least I do not. So when I would go to the toilet in public spaces, it's usually already a sign to the other girls, hey, I need to discuss something.
Yeah, same here.
Interesting. So every time I see a group of girls go to the bathroom, I'm going to be like, oh, they need to talk. Something's going down.
Spill some tea here. Yep.
Okay.
All right, what else we got here? I'm going to take.
I added a question to my pile, Clement, if you'd like to steal it.
Do you want me to steal it? Okay. If a man wants to approach you, what is the appropriate or preferred way for them to do so?
Depends on the setting.
Right. Well, let's go into some examples then, if you don't mind.
I personally hate pickup lines. It's just I think it's a lazier way of having a conversation with me. If you generally find me attractive or whatever reason why you're approaching me, then you should at least be more open about it. Like, hey, I think you're beautiful or something. And then like bring into a conversation that's more genuine, rather than maybe searching up a pickup line on Google and then trying to recite it in front of a girl. Like, I don't find that genuine.
Yeah.
Some women love that though. Like, I've seen people talk about how they love pickup lines. I'm like, okay, I've never really done that, but what about you, Jen? Tanya, what do you think?
I'm totally with Jen. I'm also anti pickup lines, but I also feel like nowadays it's really hard for men to approach a woman in public, because personally, I get weirded out really fast, and I feel like it's not a good habit of mine. But when you just approach me and go like, hey, you're beautiful, and do you have time for a drink? Then I will be like, wait, are you playing truth or dare with another person, or are you just being genuine? I don't know. So I feel like it's really hard nowadays to decide if one person is actually being serious or if he's just playing with you. So
see, like, because nowadays a lot of guys are harassing women, and we tend to be in that mindset, like, oh, is this guy just hitting me up just because he wants to get in my pants, or is he really actually want to getting to know me? So yeah, there's not really a right way to try to get to know a woman in public, because we always think about that in the back of our head.
Yeah. What would you prefer? Like, if, let's say you're at the mall or something, or you're in Target, and you're shopping around and some cool dude out of nowhere who seems pretty genuine comes up to you. What would you prefer him to say if he's being serious about wanting to talk to you and get a shot?
Probably he should also state that, although it's weird and it's kind of, people might think it's unnecessary, actually say before, like, hey, I don't want to sound like weird or anything, but I just saw you and I just wanted to say that you're pretty, or just actually state, like, I don't mean to be weird, I just wanted to say that. Yeah.
This actually reminds me of something. I think that Brandon and I had this conversation where a guy would compliment on something about a girl and he would walk away. And then if the girl is genuinely interested in that guy, then she would want to say, oh, wait, I actually want to get your number or something. I think that's a good mind trick in a sense, like, just to show that you just want to say that she's beautiful and move on. Like, you're not trying to get into her pants. I think that tends to work a lot for guys. It does
work for guys. It's simply because there's a lot of women that are, they are being, if you're beautiful, you get a lot of attention, you're being hit up by a lot of guys. You see it all the time. You're used to it. So what's going to distinguish you from every other guy out there? Showing interest, but, not holding that interest and walking away. I've known lots of guys have had success with that, just being genuine. Like, if they really think you're beautiful, they should just, say that they think you're beautiful, or they like your shoes, just genuine, say you like that person's shoes or whatever it is. And then, carry on with your day. Like, if she really sees that, that was genuine, she might stop you, or she might try to actually ask something back or have a conversation. I think guys put too much pressure
on that, though. Like that's so, yeah. I mean, there's two things I think going on here. Like, I think compliments are the most understated thing you could ever do for a woman, is to compliment her. And that works really well for people who want to start at least talking. But the problem is, a lot of men are so scared of actually approaching a woman like that it terrifies them. And I feel like, having that initial, at least that preconceived notion that there's nothing else that they need from that interaction other than to just tell them, look, hey, you look great in that dress today. I think that's a great way to start for someone who's trying to find, ways to interact with the opposite sex. Like, just go and tell someone that you think they look great and then walk away. Yeah, it's a great way to do it, but don't expect them to come back and tell you, hey.
It doesn't work all the time, but it works a lot more than just saying, hey, you're beautiful, can I have your number?
Yeah.
Like, how many times does a girl hear that? And how many times does that actually work for a guy?
It's definitely better. Yeah.
A guy did kind of like both things. So a guy approached me in Target where he was like, hey, I think you're beautiful. And then he gave me a piece of paper with his number and he walked away. Like, I didn't really like come back after him. Like, he just gave me his number.
In Target? Sorry, I asked you.
So I just like ripped the number. Cause like,
I would have called him and be like, hey, you left your paper with me. Do you want it back?
I mean, first of all, where did he find that paper? Does he bring that everywhere?
He got it from the supplies aisle. Yeah.
We were by the makeup section, so I don't think there was a paper.
What if it was like a handcrafted letter, sealed, old fashioned style,
manuscript style, like
yes.
Oh, well, this one was just a ripped paper, like done by force. Like it was not even carefully ripped. It was just boom. Here's my number.
Yeah,
that's a bit too. But what else are you going to do though in that situation? Because you don't really have a lot of time. So I feel like if you do want to try to, meet someone in Target, what are you going to do? Like, you can't stalk them until they leave.
He definitely stalked me. He definitely stalked me. He was like following me around. That's another vibe that I got from him. I was like, okay, I got a stalker here. I'm going to run away. But then eventually he walked towards me and with the number in a paper. And I was like, okay, I don't want to call this stalker.
There's a lot of pressure in that situation for a man because you got a small window of opportunity and then it's gone. You have one shot to walk up to her in the period that she's actually in Target, that you're actually in Target, other than buying everything that you're going to buy, to actually, take your shot, and then you both leave and that's it. You might not see each other ever again. So there's a lot of pressure on a guy to make that actually work. And there's very little things that you can do that are highly successful.
I feel like the best thing you could probably do, just to avoid all that weirdness, is to just walk up to someone and tell them, like, I find you really attractive. You look great. Listen, here's my number. If you don't want to call me, it's no problem. But if you do, that's great. Anyway, I'll let you get on with your day. And then leave for real. Don't follow them around the store. That's weird.
I mean, he did that, but on the paper as well, it says his name and it says, please call me with his number.
Right. Well,
so it might not work.
It might not work. I think it's, delicate balance, isn't it? I
think also body language is important. Like if you were to find a really attractive girl in Target, why we're using Target as an example. Like let's say you find an attractive girl and if you catch eye contact with each other and if she seems interested, then I'm sure she's going to smile at you or something. If she's not, or if she's just trying to like avoid that, then might as well not approach her.
Work better than a piece of paper with your number is just giving them like a business card. Like if you like actually had a business card.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's a businessman.
And then they'll shift immediately from how many girls does she give his number to oh, he's a businessman. Oh, he has a profession. He works.
But not if it's printed by Vistaprint. Don't give anyone a card if it's printed by Vistaprint, because that shit's gone to more people.
Oh, come on. There's some expensive stuff on Vistaprint. You can get the ones like the really thick cards with the fabric and everything.
Right. Yeah. If it's an expensive card, then maybe.
You could get a glossy one, a matte one. You could get the ones that are...
not the ones with the white background with Vistaprint.com on it. No, that's not a good one.
No. Don't get the cheap ones. Get the good ones. Good, thick quality ones. It'll last.
Yep.
Okay. So I think we kind of like, we've exhausted our list, I think, to be honest with you. That was a pretty good one though, actually, to end with. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was pretty solid. I went through my questions. You went through my questions as well. So I think we're coming to the end, unless you had any other last minute thoughts, Clemens, to ask.
No, I feel like there's so much to decompress from this, as basic as it might have sounded, on the top level. I think underneath there's a lot of things that men need to go inwards with and think about. And that's the trick, I think, is spending that time reviewing behavior and mindset and perspective, because without that, you're just going to do the same things over and over again. So yeah, I think we gave people a lot of good examples here. And if they study that, like, this is genuine stuff. If they study that, I think that they're going to have a lot more success. Yeah,
absolutely.
And thank you so much, guys, for coming on and sharing your thoughts, because without you, Brandon and I wouldn't have been able to do this episode for sure.
It'd be too awkward. I'd be asking Clement these questions. Asking me these questions. We'd have terrible answers. No one would listen. But Clement, should we give Jen and Tanya a chance to plug their life for a second before we end it? Things that they got going on, things that they're doing?
Yeah.
You want to go first, or?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. Well, I also have a podcast. It's called Jen Unfiltered Podcast. It's both on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you can find. Just go to jenunfilteredpodcast.com, since that's the website. And also find me on Instagram for Jen Unfiltered Pod. It's hard for me to figure that out. And if you want to, that's it. That's pretty much it.
Very cool.
Okay.
Very cool.
So I'm not as famous as Jen is, but I can only say to everyone's listening, follow Jen on Jen Unfiltered and follow you guys on Podshots. And if you want to see me somewhere, I have Instagram and I'm Tanya.zml. And
she's also really cool because she rides horses and she has an equestrian account. So,
oh yeah, what's up with that? Like, what's that all about? Is that like a pastime for you, or is that a business you're getting into, or what?
It kind of was for a year, but now it's inactive because I'm not using it anymore. But it was sort of businessy. Like I had cooperation partners, but it was a fun time, but not anymore for me.
But she's cool. She's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Horse riding is, well, what can you say about that? That's like high level stuff, you know?
Yeah. It
don't
hurts.
find a woman like that every day.
Horse riding hurts for me. Just something.
Horse riding does hurt. Horse riding hurts for men in general. You know, the bigger the balls, the worse. So yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you guys. Appreciate it so much. Perfect. By the way, do you want to do another last shot or last drink?
Yeah. I'll
water,
finish my wine.
Whatever it is.
Shots of water.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you.
Cheers.